I remember the exact moment I knew it was over. It wasn't the fifth glass of wine, or the look in his eye when he slammed the front door. It was the flicker of amusement that danced across his lips when I finally found the courage to say the words. We were standing in our bedroom, the one he insisted on painting executive gray because he thought it looked businesslike, and I had my small duffel bag at my feet. Everything I owned could fit inside: a few changes of clothes, my laptop, my grandmother's locket, wedding photos I kept for no good reason. I swallowed hard, chin trembling. "I'm leaving," I said. Somehow I kept my voice calm, even. I'd rehearsed it. I'd imagined saying it 1,000 times. But the real moment took my breath away. He was bent over his briefcase, stuffing papers inside. He glanced up, one eyebrow arching. Then he laughed. A short, sharp laugh, as if I'd told a private joke. "You're what?" he said, straightening and slipping the briefcase shut. "You're leaving? Where exactly do you plan to go? Back to your parents' house?" I let the silence stretch. "First, to my mother's. Then after that, I'll figure it out." He rolled his eyes, pushed off his desk chair, and stalked toward me until he was so close I could feel his cologne, clean cotton, expensive. "You can't afford that. Your parents live in a cottage your grandmother left them. It'll take you 6 months just to scrape enough together for rent. You know that, right?" I felt my cheeks flare. "I haven't been without a dime in 10 years, John. I can manage," he snorted, as though I'd declared I could juggle tigers. "You and what army?" That was it. The moment I realized how little he respected me. He believed I had no agency, no resources. He believed that without him, I was broke and helpless. But he was wrong. I'd hidden something from him ever since I'd set foot in that executive gray bedroom. I'd inherited the house from my grandmother, but the deed, the actual title of ownership, had been quietly transferred into my name and put in a safe deposit box he'd never found. It was my secret ace, my silent rebellion, tucked away with my grandmother's sapphire ring. And now I was ready to play it. The weekend before, I'd sat in the little conference room at Hope Bank with Mr. Delgado, the bank's senior trust officer. He was the gentlest man on earth, with silver hair and a forever soft voice. "Mrs. Lawson," he'd said, sliding a blue folder across the mahogany table, "your grandmother took great care to ensure you would be provided for. This deed gives you full rights to 123 Maple Street, as of today." He opened the folder to reveal a crisp original title, embossed in gold. I ran a finger over my grandmother's name, the date stamped in the corner last month, the notary's signature inked in serious black. I swallowed against the lump in my throat and nodded. "Thank you," I said. He folded the papers back up. "Is there anything else you need?" I shook my head. "No, that's all." But I paused before I walked out. "Mr. Delgado, am I allowed to, shall we say, exercise my rights if needed?" He smiled. "Of course, Mrs. Lawson. That's exactly what the title is for." I tucked the folder into my briefcase and walked out into the bright spring morning, the world shifting beneath my feet. Back then, I'd celebrated quietly, dinner by myself at that quaint tapas bar we loved, one table over from the bustling bar, red wine warming my hands. I toasted my grandmother's memory, the only person who ever called me capable, who taught me to believe my own worth. John called that night. "How'd it go?" I said it went fine. He asked if I wanted to pick up Chinese on the way home Friday. I said no. I had a surprise. He laughed again and ended the call. I should have known the laughter would sting. Now, standing in the bedroom where John's laughter still echoed, I slipped the duffel from the floor and knelt. There, taped under the mattress, was the dossier I'd assembled, the original deed, my grandmother's letter, photos of the house and rose garden she'd planted, and insurance documents in my name. I'd filed everything under Hazel Estate in a cardboard box, waiting, but I needed it here, at my fingertips. I flipped open the top of the mattress and slid the box free. My heart thundered as I unlaced the leather straps, revealing the stack of papers. John's eyes followed every flicker of the shredding tape. "What is that?" he said, voice tight. I pulled out the deed, unfolded it, and let it hang between us like a banner. "The house belongs to me," I said. "Not to you, not to your bank account, to me." He stared at the title in my trembling hands, his mouth twisted, surprise, confusion, anger all rolled into one. "What are you talking about?" he said. I straightened, pressing the deed to my chest. I filed this last month with Grandma's instructions. Now it's official. I don't need your name on any mortgage. I don't need your signature for anything. The house is mine." He took a faltering step forward. "You can't do that. This was our home." I shook my head. "It was your home as long as I let you think that. But Grandma trusted me, not you. She knew how you treated me, how you belittled me, laughed at me, told me I couldn't do anything without you. She left it all to me because you'd never believe I was capable on my own." My voice quavered, then hardened. "Today that changes." He scooped a fistful of thin air. "You're crazy, you can't kick me out." I held up the deed, shaking slightly. "On paper I can, and I am." I pressed the title into his hands. "I'm transferring the deed to an outside trust, same as Grandma envisioned. I'll leave you the car and a modest stipend for groceries. Everything else, the house, the equity, the savings, goes to me." His lips curled. "You'll regret this." His voice was low, a promise of ruin. "People like you don't walk away unscathed." I shook my head, sad but resolute. "No, John, people like me do. I learned from you exactly how not to lose myself. Goodbye." He tossed the deed onto the bed and stormed out, his footsteps thundering down the hall. The bedroom door swung closed behind him, rattling in the frame. I sank onto the edge of the mattress, clutching the deed. The reality of it filled me with a curious calm. The house really was mine now, in every way that mattered. No one could laugh me out of my own home again. That night, I stood on the porch with my daughter Emma, who'd rushed home from college, her eyes wide with worry. She wrapped her arms around me. "Mom," she whispered, "are you okay?" I brushed her hair away and smiled. "I've never been better." Behind us, the house glowed in porch light, the rose bushes luminous in the dark. We'd plant new roses soon. Emma and I together, a reminder of new beginnings. Inside, the echo of John's laughter was gone, replaced by a quiet peace. It was just the two of us now, and the house, my house, would keep me safe. Tomorrow, I'd call the lawyer to transfer the title into the trust. Next week, I'd pack my things for good. But tonight, I would sit on the porch with my daughter and breathe, finally free. And as the stars sparkled above the roofline, I whispered into the night, "Goodbye, John, I'm never coming back." The first night alone in the house felt like drifting in a dream. The rooms, once filled with John's laughter and the soft click-clack of his briefcase, now breathed with silence. I paced the hallway, my hand brushing the walls where we'd hung family photos, our wedding portrait, Emma's kindergarten artwork, snapshots of vacations that felt like someone else's life. At first, I thought I'd collapse into tears, but instead I felt a curious calm settle in my chest. This was freedom. I unpacked the duffel in our bedroom, now mine alone, arranging my clothes in the closet, hanging the little black dress I'd worn on our 10th anniversary, pressing the lace back into place. On the dresser, I placed my grandmother's locket beside a framed photo of her rose garden. Then I pulled out the deed I'd taken from under the mattress, sliding it into a glass frame on the bedside table so it gleamed in the lamp's glow. It was my nod to permanence, proof I belonged here. The next morning, I woke to soft light through the drapes and faint chirring of spring birds. I made coffee, the rich aroma filling the kitchen, and poured 2 cups, one for me, one for my mother, so she'd feel at home when she visited. My phone buzzed, several messages from friends offering help, from Emma texting to say she'd clear her schedule to be here, from my lawyer confirming the trust transfer would be recorded by week's end. For once, my inbox held only good news. I stepped outside onto the back patio, where the roses my grandmother had planted a decade ago were waking up, pink buds trembling in the breeze. I inhaled, letting their sweetness wrap around me. Behind me, the rows of tulips we'd planted last fall nodded in welcome. I had a long list of projects, landscaping, fresh paint, new appliances, but none felt like chores. They felt like acts of reclamation. Over the next few days, I moved through the house like a woman reborn. I changed the locks, 3 different deadbolts on the front door, a smart key system on the garage, to remind myself that no one could barge in uninvited. I called a locksmith late one afternoon, and as he installed the keypad, I watched the keypad blink to life, the old brass doorknob spinning free of power. "You're all set," he said, wiping his hands. I handed him a check and offered him a smile that I felt in my bones. "Thank you," I said, for helping me feel safe. In the living room, I hired a deep clean service, carpets shampooed, furniture steam sanitized, dust banished from every corner. When the technicians left, the air smelled of eucalyptus and hope. I fluffed the throw pillows, straightened the drapes, and rearranged photos on the mantel. Then I called Emma. "Mom," she gushed over the phone. "You should see it. It looks like a spa hotel." I hoped she heard the pride in my voice. "I can't wait to sleep here." She booked her flight that afternoon. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table with my mother. We drank chamomile tea and nibbled lemon bars on blue and white china. She watched the deed on the dresser shelf and reached across to take my hand. "I'm so proud of you," she said. "Your grandmother would be too." I squeezed her fingers. I just did what she taught me, to stand up for myself. She smiled, a tear glinting on her cheek. "You stood tall." Meanwhile, John was conspicuous by his absence. I'd left his clothes in a black trash bag on the porch, his workout shorts, his silk ties, the Mont Blanc pen I'd found in his jacket pocket. In fairness, he'd left on Sunday morning in a huff, slamming the door behind him. Texts went unanswered. I assumed he was crashing at a friend's place, stewing over the unexpected eviction. On Tuesday, a neighbor, Mr. Patel, who lived next door, knocked on my door. He was an elderly man with kind eyes and a slow smile. In his hand, he held an envelope. "Hello, Miss Lawson," he said, voice gentle. "Mail came for you." His gaze flicked to the roses. "They're lovely." I thanked him and took the envelope. Inside was a thick manila packet with return address, law offices of Benedict and Associates. My heart fluttered. John must have hired a lawyer. I cleared off the kitchen island and opened it there. Court filings, demand for return of property, temporary restraining order request, a draft complaint alleging unlawful eviction and interference with marital assets. I exhaled slowly. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. "They've filed," I said, voice level. "What did you expect?" she replied. She guided me through the steps. File a response. Contest the motion for TRO. Present the deed as evidence. She'd schedule a hearing in 2 weeks. "Stay calm," she advised. "Your position is rock solid." I put down the papers and found myself grinning. "I will," I said. "Thank you." Later that afternoon, I hosted an impromptu open house for friends and neighbors. I wanted people to see the house as mine, to create new memories in each room. We sipped rosé in the garden. Neighbors wandered inside, praising the vaulted ceilings and marble bathroom. Emma FaceTimed her cousin Lucy to show off the infinity mirror above the bathtub. Laughter and chatter filled the spaces where tension once ruled. As the sun dipped, I led a small group out back, where string lights twinkled overhead. "Here's where my grandmother's roses bloom," I said, brushing a petal. "It's where I'll plant new ones." Mr. Patel leaned on his cane. "Your grandmother would approve," he said. I thanked him, feeling like the world was nodding in support. Night fell into 2 weeks of legal back and forth. John's attorney filed an ex parte motion, claiming irreparable harm if he could not reside at the property. My team countered with the deed and trust documents, plus a sworn affidavit from Mr. Delgado verifying the title's authenticity. The judge peeked at both sides and, after a brief hearing, denied John's motion. The court found in my favor. The deed was undisputed, the trust valid, and no immediate threat justified a restraining order. John lost the lawsuit before it began. I sat in the courtroom, watching the judge's gavel rap the desk. Relief surged through me. My lawyer slipped me a folder with the order. "You can breathe now," she whispered. I nodded, tears in my eyes. I already did. That evening, I drove to my favorite rooftop spot, a small Italian place with panoramic city views. Emma joined me, radiant in a sundress. We ordered wood, fired pizza, and Prosecco. Between bites of Prosecco topped perfection, we laughed about her college finals, the last-minute research for her thesis, the hilarious misadventure when she accidentally dyed her shirt fluorescent pink. I realized I hadn't laughed that freely in months. Over dessert, pistachio gelato, we toasted to new beginnings. To standing up, I said, and to this house where we'll write the next chapters. Emma clinked her glass. To you, Mom. You're my hero. I swallowed, feeling both proud and humbled. And you're mine. 2 months later, the house had transformed further. I'd repainted the executive gray walls in soft cream. I'd replaced the heavy drapes with light linen panels. I'd refurbished Grandma's garden bench and added a small fountain under a pergola. My mother's old rocking chair sat on the porch, ready for quiet mornings, and on the front stoop, a new welcome mat, embroidered with a golden rose, lay invitingly. In the living room, I staged a corner as a small home office, a warm oak desk beneath the window, with my grandmother's locket displayed alongside a modern monitor and keyboard. My business had pivoted. I started a boutique consulting practice, specializing in sustainable real estate transitions, helping other people like me claim their rightful homes. The industry niche boomed, and I had 3 clients under contract already, earning respect and revenue. On a rainy afternoon, as thunder echoed off the roof, I heard a knock on the door. I opened it to find John, rain-damp and sheepish, holding a bouquet of daisies. Can we talk?" he said, voice tight. I stepped aside, curiosity and caution warring. He entered, dripping on the rug, and stood in the doorway to what had once been ours. "I'm sorry," he said, eyes downcast. "I didn't understand. I thought home was about whom you lived with, not who owned the deed." He looked at the bronze mat with its golden rose. "This place, you've made it beautiful." He swallowed. "I've been working with a therapist. I've been trying to figure out why I tried to control you. I was terrified of losing what I'd built. But you built something more." He took a step forward. "If you'll have me, I'd like to visit, as a friend. As an ex, if you'll allow it." I studied him, the rain beating on his collar. The old wound in my chest fluttered anger, betrayal, compassion mingled. I thought of the victory in court, the laughter on the porch, Emma's toast. I placed a hand on the latch of my new office door. "Come in," I said, voice gentle but firm. "I'm listening." He stepped over the threshold, into the light I had rekindled. As he closed the door behind him, I felt the weight of the past shift, no longer an anchor, but a foundation. And so we began again, 2 people who once shared a life, now learning to share a space, newly claimed. The house remained mine, its walls, its deed, its soul, but in its rooms, we would discover whether forgiveness could bloom as resiliently as Grandma's roses. Because I'd taken the deed, yes, but I'd also taken the power to choose how the story continued. And that, more than ownership, was true freedom.